And this time we're going to extend from the previous tutorials and show you how to get things done a bit more quickly. Now, last time we showed you how to create controllers and models and how to hook them all together. This time we're going to show you a vastly quicker way to do that. Now, I'm just going to basically start with a brand new Rails project that's going to replace the article app that we've been building so far, but we're going to do it very quickly. Now, the first thing we need to do with any brand new Rails app is to create Rails new article app, as we did before. Excuse me. That shouldn't take very long to install. Now, what we're going to do is, as well as that, is we're going to take advantage of something called scaffolding, which is a feature of Ruby on Rails that allows you to pretty much generate the code and functionality of a controller and model together to more or less have some boilerplate code for you to start with. Now, to do that, we need to do a little bit of setup. As well as that, we're going to actually include Twitter Bootstrap so that we can make our app look nice and pretty as well. So the first thing that we need to do once we've created a new app is to really set up our gem file. And the gem file really lets us set up what kind of modules we're going to use. So you can import previously built apps or generators or engines, basically modules of code that we can reuse. Now you can see here, once we did the bundle install, that it's listed a lot of the things that come by default. As you can see, there's SQLite 3 there. So we're not going to bother hooking up to MySQL this time. We're just going to basically use the default, which is SQLite. So we don't need to configure the database. So let's go ahead and edit the gem file. No, we don't. We actually have to go inside of that application folder first. Then we can edit the gem file. Gem file. Okay, so these are all the gems that are already installed. I'm going to make a little bit of space here. We're going to pull in the first gem, which is the Ruby Racer. And this basically is an engine that allows us to run JavaScript configuration inside of the Rails app. So it's important when we're using things that rely on that sort of processing. And in this case, less is one of the modules that we need with the Ruby Racer. It's one of its dependencies. So when we're using less, we need to have the Ruby Racer installed. So the next module is obviously the less Rails module, gem rather. Still thinking in Python, but never mind. So then finally, we also need Twitter Bootstrap Rails, and that will install the Twitter Bootstrap information and CSS and all the stuff that we need for it to work along with our Rails project. So I'll just save that, and if we do bundle install, that should go away, pull in the new modules, and then configure them correctly for our system. Hopefully that's not going to take ages. Yep, done a spelling mistake. Here we go. The Ruby Race is not the Ruby Racer, so therefore it's not going to install until it finds the right name. Okay, so that didn't take very long. Awesome. And you can see there on the bottom, it's actually installed those modules too. You can see it in there. So that's confirmed as being okay. Now, because we've installed the Bootstrap stuff, we need to run Bootstrap's install scripts, which will then bring in the necessary files for our project. So to do that, we next run Rails G for generate, Bootstrap, install, and this will then pull in those files and put them inside of our current project folder setup under app assets for JavaScript and style sheets. Also a little bit of config information, and also it'll actually alter the application CSS as well. So then everything on our screen should then be affected by that, and we should get some nice new layout. Now, the next thing we need to do is, rather than keep with the default layout, so I'll show you what the default layout looks like. If I just get my text editor open, we're not going to look at my notes for this tutorial, so in here under documents, Ruby article, we've got the app folder, and under here we've got a default layout, which basically looks like that. So what are we going to do? We need to style this, or give it some structure in it, in the HTML, so that it'll now take advantage of the Bootstrap CSS. So to do that, rather than actually go and edit the HTML ourselves, we've got a very nice little function that comes along with this whole Bootstrap Rails setup, which basically generates a layout for us. So it's Bootstrap layout application, and we want a fixed layout. Now you can have there's another layout that escapes me at the minute, but it's not really important because we're not doing that. We're going to do the fixed one. Basically the layout is Bootstrap's way of setting up the HTML so that it can be responsive. Now I'll show you what that is in a second or two, but what it means is basically that the CSS and JavaScript that it installs actually knows how to resize the HTML presentation depending on the screen size that you present it with. So this basically means that our app will be, by default, able to display itself on normal desktop machines properly, but also if you look at it on mobile devices, it'll automatically resize and change its presentation according to the size of the screen for that device too, which is really handy. So we're going to use this fixed layout for our application, and it's saying that we've already got an application html.erb file. Do we want to get rid of it or overwrite it? And the answer is yes, because this is what we're currently looking at, and we need to now have it restructured. So let's do that. And if we go into here, it says, yep, do you want to reload this file because it's changed? And as you can see, now it's completely changed it. Now what has it done? It's changed a lot of the imports for the header. Basically taking account for things like the IE628 support script, things like iPad, high resolution retina displays, all sorts of stuff in there. And then it's added a chunk of HTML. Now this bit here more or less covers a nav bar that it puts in at the top by default. And I'm just looking for the yield. There we are. So you get yield there, which is what you would normally see inside of the HTML, and that's basically where the content's going to go, but it's surrounded with all this other stuff, which is the layout structure. And then it's also put in Bootstrap Flash, which basically is where we would have put our flash messages from the last tutorial. Now, we've done that, and that's basically made it so that our layout now is conformant with the Bootstrap stuff. So we should now get a load of default pages, so that whenever we load anything in this site, it's going to look a certain way on every page now. Right, so we need something to actually display inside of that. So I'm going to quickly recreate our controller and model from last tutorial, which was the articles tutorial, by using scaffolding. Now, scaffolding is basically a generator that allows us to create a boilerplate code that knows how to do the standard setup of create, review, update, and delete. So CRUD. And that's more or less going to replace exactly what we did in the last two tutorials in a matter of seconds. Now, the reason why I did that in those previous tutorials, obviously, is to show you how it works under the hood, and so that if you ever get into trouble, you'll know how to fix it. So this way is much faster, but you also don't get to see very much of how it actually really works. So we're going to do Rails G, scaffold, articles, then we're going to do the title as a string, and then we're going to do the body as text, as we did last time. Okay, so that's created. We now have everything set up. So if I just run through that, in our config routes, it's automatically added the articles resource in there. Now I'm going to add in something else as well, because I wanted to make it so that whenever you visit the home page, you go straight to the articles page. So route to equals articles index, and that should set that up so that we go straight to the articles main list page. Just get rid of that. Moving back, we have the controllers already set up for us, and you can see it's already done all the code. And also all of our views, and a little bit more actually, but there you go. So you can see that we've unified the form. So inside of our edit page, instead of actually rendering in the form, actually putting in the form fields in there for ourselves, we've got this render form command, and what it actually does is just basically pull in this form here and put it in place, as is the case for our new. So there is a way to shorten it down again. Okay, so we've done that. Let's just have a quick look. See how it looks and see if it actually works. Okay. Aha, yeah. So we've skipped the step. We need to do, now that we've created our model, we need to do a rake db migrate. Okay, so our db migrate's now done. Our schema in the database is now set up for that model. We should now be able to run this. Okay, so here we go. There we go. So as you can see, everything's set up. The nav bar's on the top there, and as you can see, some of the text is actually hidden under the nav bar. And apparently, this is actually a feature, not a bug. So because we're using this fixed layout, this is an expected behavior. So we need to fix that. And the way that we fix that is if we go into our assets folder under style sheets, Bootstrap puts its own overrides file in there. And apparently between the Bootstrap and the responsive import, we need to put body padding top. I'm going to put 60 pixels in there because it looks nice. And if we put that in and refresh the page, we should now find, well, maybe we should have to restart the server. Okay, let's give that a try. Right, so there you go. So now we've managed to offset that so that it appears in the right place. And also you can see that we've got our default scaffold here. Now, as you can see, it's got all the stuff you need in there. So we can create articles, create a couple while we're here. So you can see that it's in there, but obviously it doesn't look very pretty. Now, what we can do with that is that the Bootstrap has a way of applying a theme to the actual views. So the way that we can actually override that and make it look in keeping with the Bootstrap look and feel is by using another command from the Rails section. Rails Bootstrap, or Rails G Bootstrap themed articles, and a -F to force it to override everything. If we restart our server, theoretically that should work. And now, as you can see, with the new theme applied, we now get a much nicer tabled layout. When we click new, we get a much nicer set of forms. However, one little problem. The body form is only shown as one row. So the quick way to deal with that is as if we go into our articles form file and find the bottom field. You can see it's declared as a text field. If we just take that and change that to text area, there we go. That's much better. And of course, with it being a text body, we can resize it. My throat is slowly failing this, so I'm hoping I'm going to bring this to an end very quickly. So there you go. That's how to use scaffolding, and also how to bring in Twitter Bootstrap. And in the future tutorials, we're going to stick with the Bootstrap look and feel, so this should hopefully make everything look nice and pretty, as well as quite educational at the same time. Okay, well that's the end of the tutorial. I hope that you learned some things from this, and if you did, then please click the like button. And if you would like to know more about the tutorials in the series, then please click the subscribe button and we'll send you a message as soon as one's available. Thanks for watching.